Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. On this episode, we're going to be making a seared venison medallion au poivre. This is going to be my version of the classic French recipe steak au poivre, so you know that au poivre actually translates into English as with pepper. I've made this version in restaurants many times over with different cuts of meat, different proteins. We'll cover that in a bit. But the classic recipe is generally made with beef filet mignon, salt, cracked black pepper, some shallots, garlic, brandy, mustard, beef stock, and heavy cream to finish it up. Today we're going to be using most of those ingredients, but with some minor changes. Um, Again, I just want to say thank you for being here, and let's get into it. So you see in the mortar and pestle right here, what I'm actually prepping is the pepper, but it's not black pepper or white pepper. This is actually a pig peppercorn. It is a pepper flavor. It has a lot of good flavor. It's not as bitter as black pepper or white pepper. And it also gives like a nice light floral bouquet is the best way to describe it. It's actually a unique berry. It's very good. I am taking the silver skin, sinew, everything off of a venison backstrap. That's basically hunter's terminology, and that's the cut of meat that would translate into either prime rib or New York strip, depending on what portion of the animal it came from. It's all the same muscle, it's just the location of where it comes off of the animal. The small plate, I have my shallots and garlic minced already. Right now, I'm sprinkling sea salt, granulated onion, and granulated garlic onto the medallions. Onto my left part of my cutting board there, you'll see the mustard, the brandy, the beef stock, and on the one side I just placed is the 4 ounces of heavy cream. The beef stock is also about 4 ounces. We'll get into that when we make the sauce. Anytime you pan sear, you want to make sure you use a hot pan. This is what I waited for, checked on it, got up the temperature, put my pat of butter, and you never want to overcrowd your pan either. So this pan is a little bit too small for the 5 medallions, but it is a good size for the sauce. So I just divided it in half basically and seared the meat. The reason you don't want to do that, if you cool the pan down too fast, you're actually going to wind up steaming and the cut of meat or the protein that you're putting in there if you overcrowd the pan. This way, you'll get a nice char. You'll get the browning effect from the butter on the meat. Again, when you place the meat on the pan, you want to let it sit for about 30 seconds, and that's give or take. You get a feel for it. You watch the edge of the protein, what it does. It'll start to curl. Um, what happens when you first put it on the pan? It will sear, it will stick and lock to the pan. But as the protein starts to harden from the crust, as you can see, I shook it and it started to, it was already released from the pan. So now it's safe to flip. And again, when you flip it over, you want to do the same thing. You just don't want to disturb the pan. You want the meat to properly sear. And otherwise, you'll have cuts and rips in the protein. And what's going to happen is that the juices and everything you're trying to lock in to the meat that's still in the meat will be able to leach out into your sauce, which wouldn't be bad for your sauce. But when you actually eat the meat, it'll be a drier cut and it'll be more, it just won't be as moist as you can actually get it. So you want to take care in how you do that. So while you're searing the meat, you want to make sure you have your mise en place ready for the pan sauce, which would be the beef stock, the brandy, the mustard, the shallots, and the garlic. That's why we prepped it all ahead of time. We want to make sure that we're ready to go because when the pan's hot and ready, it just you don't have time to wait for the steps. Everything kind of folds into each other. Just makes it for a smoother transition into a sauce. If you guys are interested in those pink pepper berries, I will put a link in the description down below. I believe I bought mine from Amazon. You can get one that's a few ounces, which is plenty of peppercorn for, I believe, under $10 still. So it's not a bad purchase. I've used the pink peppercorns to make salad dressings. I've used it for other items as well, which we will cover in the future on future episodes. So the second part of the batch of venison medallions is just about done. I'm going to take the pan off the heat after I remove these two. I'm going to brush off some of the pink pepper berries that were knocked off of the medallions because they look a little bit dark and black, and I didn't want to leave that in the sauce. I'm not going to clean the pan. I'm just going to get rid of the those loose chunks, and I'm going to deglaze the pan with the brandy. So when you get to this point, you're going to saute your garlic and shallots. I want to talk a little bit about the brandy. Everybody's sauteed vegetables. It's not that part you can see happen. But for a safety precaution, when you use brandy and you decide to burn off the brandy, you do not want to pour it into the pan while it's on the flame, because the vapors actually, the brandy heats up really fast. The vapors are what actually ignite before the brandy. So you're heating up the brandy, you're making the vapor, and that's what burns. So when you do that, you have actually a chance, if you left the pan on the flame and you pour your brandy in, and the vapor can actually come up into the bottle and ignite from the bottle, and you can actually have yourself a little mini Molotov cocktail. So please definitely take precaution. As you see here, I'm pulling it off the flame. I pour the brandy in, I let it heat up, I get the bottle away, and I let it do its thing. And it does become quite a big fireball. So please use caution, use safety. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can take the brandy, as I did, pour it into the pan, leave it off the flame, and just let it simmer, reduce, and let the vapors go away. If the pan is hot enough, it will do that. It will still flame a little bit if you wait longer than I did, possibly a minute or so, and then introduce the heat back to it. You can do it slow enough where it might not ignite. I'm not guaranteeing that because obviously brandy is a flammable liquid, as you see. So please use caution. I'm not responsible for your careless mistakes. If you do that, those are my little pieces of advice. If you are just unsure and you're not feeling it, my best advice is totally omit the brandy. Do not put it in. Back to the sauce. I was judging for the amount. I know it's my son and I that are going to eat, so this is for two. And I put in approximately 4 ounces of the broth. For the brandy itself was maybe an ounce. And I'm going to start letting it reduce, because what we're going to do is add the 4 ounces of heavy cream to this as well. So that's going to be almost 8 ounces of liquid. The seasoning, when you taste it, you want to taste the seasoning, but it doesn't want to be perfectly salted or seasoned at this point, because what's going to happen when you reduce it by half, you intensify everything that's in the pan. So if it tastes almost seasoned at this point, that would be good, because once you reduce it by half, it should be perfectly seasoned. And when you're done at the very end, you can always add just a touch more salt, but you can never pull it out. So I would wait to the very end if you feel you need salt. Wait to the very end of the sauce being reduced to be able to do that. The thing I add too, and I didn't see if I added it or not, was the Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire actually works well. It complements the brandy and the mustard. And I'm not sure if that's in the classical recipe for Worcestershire, but I put it in, and it just gives it a nice I don't know. Uh, I don't know what to say. It just enhances the flavor of the sauce uh, more so. And there it is. So at this point, the sauce is done. The venison is done. Depending on how you like to cook your venison, my son likes his medium, a little bit medium rare. So I had cooked the venison medallions to rare so that when I put it back in the sauce and heat it back up and finish it so everything can blend together, the medallions will be medium. So if I was to do it rare, I would have done the medallions for half the amount of time as you saw on the screen, and then I would finish it in a sauce like we're gonna finish here to bring it to rare temperature. Other than that, that's it. So if you like your steak well done, you're just gonna cook it a little bit longer, leave it a little bit longer in the sauce. The other trick here is what you're seeing. I put just under a tablespoon of butter for a serving of two. But again, this is for my son and I. What the butter actually does, it makes the sauce a richer, more luxurious type of flavor, and it also finishes the sauce. If you notice, once the butter incorporates, you don't want it to melt. You want it to uh, blend into the sauce. I know there's another word I'm looking for, but I can't think of it right now. Emulsify. You want the butter to emulsify into the sauce and not melt and incorporate it that way, because it'll separate and it'll separate your whole sauce. But what it does, it gives it a nice luster and a sheen. It just what we used to do in the restaurants. It gives your sauce a nice finished product. Yes, it adds a little bit more calories, but it just makes it tasty. There it is, venison medallion au poivre. Pretty basic and simplistic. It has a few points to watch. You got to be careful with the brandy. Get your ingredients, and you can put more or less of any ingredient that you like or don't like. Um, as for what I can use this au poivre for, the sauce, you can use it on basically any protein. You can use it on chicken. You can use it on turkey. You can use it on seafood. I've done it on tuna. I've done it on salmon. You do the different medallions. You can grill your medallions. You can grill your protein and put the sauce on here. You can do the sauce without actually searing the meat in the pan first. You would actually start, if you'll remember, with the butter and the shallots and garlic, you would start building your sauce right there, and you would build it as normal. And just make sure you add some, instead of the meat with the pepper, you would add peppercorns there in its place. This is basically it. This is our dish. Any comments or questions, please feel free to comment below, and I will get back to you. If there's anything you want to see in the future, uh, please let me know. I'd be willing to give anything a shot. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you on the next episode.